Okay, so the first video proper in the mini-series. I've got my notes, I'm sat comfortably. Let's dig into it. 3 things here that we know are making landlords unhappy. Could be you, and you don't need to be. Yeah, don't worry. 3 things are licensing, EPCs, the need to have an EPC of C or above soon, and energy bills, rising energy bills. So I'm going to talk about those today. They just seem to fit together, those 3. In actual fact, they kind of don't. That's kind of why they do. So EPCs and energy bills seem like they're linked, of course, but in actual fact, it's licensing and EPCs that are linked more closely. Energy bills are really just a sort of a passing comment. As far as landlords concerned, it's not a big deal. You'll see why. And I've got a bit of, I've printed out some utility bills here as well, so we've got some actual real numbers to go on. So first thing, licensing, and I'm referring back to a conversation we had with a landlord very recently, sort of a landlord of ours, and there's licensing just come in the area where he's got his property, and he was bemoaning the fact, wasn't happy about it. He felt like landlords, I think he actually sort of used, interesting, landlords were being bashed, or landlord bashing, but some of the comments that he made were the kind of comments you'd see as headlines in newspapers. It was almost like the newspaper had poured directly into his head, you know, and he was quoting back what had been in the newspaper, which I find really interesting, because I think landlords who bemoan licensing, they either don't understand what's going on, or maybe they've got substandard properties. Now, this landlord had not got a substandard property. This landlord could pass his licensing check quickly, easily. It was just a matter of writing a check, which, okay, might be a bit painful. It was just under £500, I think. They're all different. They're anywhere between £300 and £700 for 3 to 5 years. So they're all different. But speaking as somebody who's paid a lot of these fees over the last 10 years, pay it with a happy heart, be cheery about it, and know this, okay? So first of all, eventually the fee will be recouped. Just will. It's a fact that all this regulation, all these extra costs, is a cost. You just put it onto the rent and it will come back. There's a reason that inflation is the way it is. It's not just this, of course, it's all sorts of other things, but there's a reason that rents are going up the way they are, and this is a big reason. You know, one of these things, there's all sorts of extra regulation that's coming onto landlords, and it costs money for a landlord to do. You are getting it back on rent. So know that, it might take 6 months, it might take 2 years, but it's coming back, and it's meaning that rents are rising. It means your yields are going up. Your house didn't cost you any more money than the day you bought it, did it? But that's not actually the real game. That's just a by the by, don't worry about it, because you get this back. Yeah, writing the check, it's never pleasant, is it? But you'll get that back. The real gain is in property values. It surprised this landlord to know, said, no, we love it. We buy properties that are just about to be licensed, or in licensing areas, or we actively seek them out. A little bit of a rough area, let's not call it rough, that's not right. We wouldn't buy in a sort of a very deprived, rough area, but something on the edge of it, something that needs a bit of gentrification, let's call it that, and they get a licensing program in. The landlord that can't easily get a license, the house isn't decent and safe, it is going to be a problem to them. They should be moaning, but that's not you, is it? So they will get out. Life will become very tough for them. Those landlords are being bashed, and that's kind of the point. And honestly, speaking as somebody who's done a really good job, I provide decent and safe homes to all my tenants, and I'm sure you do too. If you're one of our landlords, you definitely do. We don't take on houses that aren't. Then you want everybody else to be held to that higher standard, because you are being. So licensing doesn't affect us sort of day to day. All our properties are already decent and safe, so there's no extra work to do. It forces out the rogue landlords. So they sell either to first-time buyers, which generally pay a bit of a premium and starts to bring the value of the properties up in the area, or they sell to other landlords who are prepared to put the work in. Both of those things are are going to bring the prices of properties up, and we see it time and time again. I say it in all, it feels like I say it in every other video. We've never bought a house for £50,000 that hasn't doubled in value in 5 years. Why do you think that is? Because we're buying the kind of areas that people are putting money into and gentrifying, or making nicer, generally putting the effort into, and we seek those opportunities out. So look, if you're struggling with that for any reason, if you have got a house, if you're not one of our landlords and you've got some houses that they don't need much but they need a little bit, or maybe they need a lot, maybe they do, maybe they need a complete gutting, but be in touch, because it's a really common thing. I'm thinking back now to conversations I've listened into where landlords have come with a little problem, or something that, not a little problem, a small renovation, like let's say it's £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, but it's the kind of money I call it, good money after bad. It's for nothing. That's what the way I think of it. So what's the point in spending £3,000 for nothing? You just sort of, you go back in the house at the end of £3,000, you wouldn't even know you spent it. It's all, you might even have bodged stuff up, electric wires in trunking and things patched over, and it wasn't a good job. And I've had this conversation with landlords, I've seen it happen in the office. Far better to spend twice, 3 times as much on a job that really brings it up to decent and safe home standards. And we could look after this for you as a letting agent. We're happy to do this. Get in touch, we'll put the renovation in if that's what you need us to organise for you. Because at the end of it, your house will be worth so much more money. You'll have a better tenant, they'll pay more rent, they'll have less problems. You'll have boilers under warranty, that kind of stuff. And this is the thing that we get to with most landlords is, yes, okay, maybe instead of spending 3, you spend £10,000 or more, but the house is worth £25,000, £30,000 more. Go get a mortgage to release the rest of it. We've had conversations where the landlords realise that they're paying 5% and then get a 2.5% mortgage, and they do all this work, release £30,000 and pay less on the mortgage. You've got higher rent, less on the mortgage, making more profit, got a nicer house that causes less problems. They're a proud landlord. They say, I've got a nicer house now, decent and safe, good, I've got these worries. And they've got some money in the bank to go do the extra one again. And I've seen that happen. So, that's not specifically about licensing, but licensing can be the prompt that gets people to do that. So, look, if you bought a property with us 5 years or so ago, you haven't checked its value recently, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I know there's loads of landlords like that, just haven't checked in. Prices have gone up. Lots of landlords are getting nice surprises at the moment, so check in, book on another discovery call if you want that. So next thing, EPCs, they're going to need to be in a C. An EPC is going to need to be a C, and it's causing a lot of panic. We're getting calls, emails. So what's our plan? Now I've sat in a lot of meetings about this. We've thought about it a lot and talked about it a lot. So the first thing is the government's wording. This is still a white paper. This is not law. And there's been a lot of change in government recently, unless we forget that. So some of this thing might not get through for a long time. It might do, it might not do. The government wording on the white paper is that it's preferred policy. It would be the preferred policy for it to be a C. But it's all still in consultation. Maybe it might be a D instead. Why ratchet it up 2 at a time instead of 1 at a time? From an E to a C. Why not E to D to C later? So that sounds maybe a little bit more. Maybe if you wanted to ratchet up, you'd shoot a little bit higher, knowing that you're going to get brought down. Maybe, that's kind of what happened last time, hey? So our message is don't panic. Don't worry, don't panic. We've seen this before. We've seen a regulation being signposted well in advance before. Things like electrical regulations, local licensing. The last time there was an EPC change, the requirement came in itself, it was flagged up well ahead, and generally speaking it's flagged up a bit more stringently than it actually comes into force. So don't spend what you don't need to now. Wait till it's law. It won't come in law and overnight. You'll have plenty of time to plan. There are some things that you can do, and if you can do them, look, if you got it right now, and you might as well do it in the middle of the renovation, do it, why not? But don't overspend. I don't think we will be cladding externally all terraced houses. I just don't think we'll be doing it. I think if we do, there'll be some massive grants for it. So don't pay for it yourself now. You don't even know it's going to need to come in. So why do it now? I think electricity will change things. That sounds weird, obviously, but gas is disappearing. There might be might stay a little bit with a bit of hydrogen in it, but electricity is coming to the fore, so you might get electric heating. I know the big boiler manufacturers are designing boilers that you can take the gas one off and put an electric one in exactly the same spot, and it runs on electricity. So at the moment, if you have electric heating, you get penalised on EPC, but if you have electric heating in 3 or 4 years' time, maybe you get a boost, but you don't know how much of a boost. Would that do it? Oh, this guy just changed his boiler and he's now gone from a D to a B, let's say. Well, in which case you didn't need to do much else than that, other than wait for your boiler to break, which it will, won't it? Boilers only last 5 to 10 years these days, so yeah. So I think that'll change things. It's coming in very slowly. You'll manage a lot of what is needed just under general day-to-day maintenance. So there's also a massive weight holding this back for you and for us, I think, and that's that all Victorian terraces in the UK that are currently rented. I mean, there's a massive stock there. That has to be brought in gently, otherwise there's going to be mass homelessness. Think about all those houses that are rented out that they're just hard to change. Upgrading works on a house that's a little bit more modern or a bit easier, but do not know Victorian terrace. It's really, really hard. So another point, and it's worth making, is we are getting a lot of these to C anyway. Almost all are a D. I can't remember the last one that wasn't a D in our renovation, so we're just taking the general easy stuff to do and it comes in as a D. I checked, so out of my last 6, 3 were a C, 3 were a D. I should have added a few things. I looked at the ones that were D and I could have easily got it to a C. I think it would have cost about another £500 more, so not a big deal. And the other D, it will definitely be a C when it gets a new boiler, and the boiler's working fine, and it's about 15 years old, but it's working fine. And I'll change it when it needs changing, when it breaks, and then it will be a C. So this really isn't as big a deal as landlords are building it up to be. Now, I said that licence and EPC were kind of linked. What we're really talking about is the condition of a property. If yours is below par, then you do need to do something. You should be worried. Not particularly with EPCs or licensing, because if you're facing that now, then of course you need to do it. Having a well-presented, well-maintained property is the best way to run a buy-to-let business, not just morally, but profit and loss. A bad property is hassle and liability. A good property makes good profits. Pays for its own upkeep. Goes up in value. You can access that value periodically through refinance. Keeping your property in tip-top condition is a key part of a job as a landlord, and it makes things spin. It makes the job spin. So the final thing in this video, I said we talk about energy bills, because we keep getting asked about it. Energy bills are rising. We even had one landlord say, not sure about investing in buy-to-let, energy bills are rising, how are tenants going to afford energy bills? Just like everybody, they're not going to not rent a property. They've got to find somewhere to live. They might have to reprioritise, but finding a roof over their head is priority number 1. So it's just not a concern. Everybody's going to be paying a little bit more for energy. It does affect tenant affordability. It makes referencing more important. Only this week we added like a rent and legal protection, we call it essentials, onto our package. It's been really well received for not a lot of money. I can't remember what we ended up doing it for. We got a really good deal with our provider. Across the board, everybody can be included on this thing. You can opt out if you want, but I've kept them on because it's going to become more prevalent, and for the little amount it costs, it's a great insurance policy. When you think that rent and legal can cost serious tens of thousands of pounds, you might as well have it. Particularly heading into what we're heading into, if that comes true. It's a bit of a hedge, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. So I guess also the idea of just generally inflationary pressures everywhere are putting up the value of properties and eroding the cost of the value of your debt as well. So that's that's also useful. Now I did have a quick just put some actual numbers on it. So it does affect HMO landlords, of course. So I printed out my latest, just the last one that came in. This is an HMO that I've got. This is a 6-bedroom HMO. And when I first got the bill, I was a bit shocked, because it's £2,400 for the electricity and £2,700 for the gas, and I thought that sounded like a lot. So I had to check the old one and find out what I used to be paying, and it wasn't a lot less. So that works out as £5,011 a month. What we always used to say was, Electricity and gas, utilities is £50 a room plus £50 for the house. That's just our rough standard rule of thumb. And this works out at £59.65. Now you can put a tenner on that for all the other bits and bobs that come in there, like broadband and whatnot. But that's not a big deal, is it? And my rents have gone up by more than £25 a room over the last year. We were coming from a pretty low base because of we had a lot of empty rooms during COVID, and we had to drop our pants on the price on some of them. So that's coming from a low price, a low point. But I just don't see it being a problem for landlords on HMOs. We would take all the sensible precautions. We've got those light sensing things, the PIRs and thermostats on everything. So it's as controlled as it can be. Yes, they've gone up. It's not gone up so much to make it uneconomic, and rents are rising too. So I think if you keep your properties in good order, like you should, none of these changes should concern you. You do need to buy the right house in the right area and keep them tip top, but we'll cover how we do that in some of the other videos. At the moment, I just don't see these as deal breakers. It's certainly not putting me off buy to let. And like I say, buying in areas where they need licensing, we actively look for that. It's the biggest gains we've ever made in the last decade. Buying a house that we were always going to look after it nice and get it to the tip-top condition. That's our model, and we did. But because of licensing, everybody around was forced to do the same. The area gentrified, got nicer, and the values of all of them didn't just go up because it wasn't just ours that went up because it's nicer. We put new kitchen, new bathroom, so you'd expect a jump. It was like all the other houses in the area became nicer. Owner occupiers moved in, and all of a sudden you get 50 grand on the house price, which is massive. That's the end of this one. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. Book a discovery call. You'll see in the description, the video description, we run a discovery call every Wednesday on Zoom. It's free. I'm on it, Adam's on it, Harriet's on it, a couple of others as well. It's your opportunity to chat through anything that we've just talked about today. Go through any of these subjects. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, so that the next time this video number 2 comes through, you'll get notification of it. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't worry, be happy. Bye for now.